welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be starting, well, that's not true. This is future me, gonna send you into the past to watch the vlog, but before I start, here's my intro. I decided to, for saving time when I had to leave the house one day, I decided to postpone the intro and I would film it at the same time as the outro. That's a lot of explaining, but basically, if you were here for my last vlog when I brought these 7 books off of my bookshelf, I mentioned that all 7 of these were on the Goodreads Choice Best Thrillers of the Year, you know, according to Goodreads. So I ended up hoping to read all 7 of them at once, and then I decided to break it up because I wanted to not read 7 thrillers all in a row. But the first 3 that I did read were The Guest List, Winter Counts, and The Wives. So the vlog for this will be linked in the wherever, the I, and down in the description. One of the other books in that initial intro was The Long Bright River, which I have yet to decide if I'm actually going to go ahead and pick this one up. It is a detective point of view, and I don't typically love that. However, this is Gabby Reed's favorite thriller, or one of her favorite thrillers, so I might pick it up. I don't know. I don't want to potentially put myself into a reading slump, especially after I've been doing so well and just coming out of a reading slump. So this book will be either postponed or I don't know. But anyways, so the last 3 books are the books that you will see me read here today. Well, in the past. They are You Are Not Alone, The Night Swim, and the Sundown Motel. Now I will obviously go into more detail in them with them in the clips, so I will send you to that. Okay, so in the interest of hurrying up with this clip so that I can time lapse my drive, I am going to tell you that I did not film the intro yet. I'll have to film that later. But basically, I am headed into work for another overnight. It's a long story. I'll tell you later when I have more energy. But I am picking up You Are Not Alone by Grier, Hendricks, and Pekin. So this is my read for tonight. Just in case it doesn't work for me, I did go ahead and bring another book with me. I don't want to spend 8 hours not reading, and that's what an overnight shift is. It's 8 hours of pretty much nothing. So anyways, I am going to flip this and time lapse it so that I have a little bit of a break up in between this clip and the clip of me leaving work. So I will do that right now.
I'm so crazy about you. I'm so crazy about you. Babe, we can count all the stars in the sky as they pass by your face. On your face. Take a trip up to Mars, hold you tight in my arms all the way. First time out of space.
So I realized I haven't told you what this book is about, and it is about a girl named Shay who witnesses a terrible and tragic event while she is going to hop on the subway. So I want to preface this next statement by saying heavy on the trigger warning for suicide throughout. Like, if that is something that bothers you, don't even look into this book. Just don't even do it to yourself, okay? So she witnesses a terrible, awful, tragic event, and it happens pretty soon into the book, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything by saying that. Plus, if you need that trigger warning, I'd rather spoil the book and tell you trigger warning for this than have it be something that you encounter on your own. So with that being said, she witnesses that event, and all of a sudden, like, things are starting to be not right. So she encounters this girl's friends, and she's just like seeing a lot of different things that are sort of reminiscent of her own self, and then within the character who ends up committing suicide. And then as she sort of starts to meet her friends. You know what? It's about a weird friend group. That's, without spoiling it, that's all I can tell you, because I really feel like if I say anything, it's a spoiler. So I'm going to end this clip, send you into the clip where I go over everything. And that's it for my update for today. Hello, I am leaving work. I misplaced my water and I'm suddenly parched. I must obtain this water. I'll have to wait till a red light. But until then, let's discuss. So you know that I worked an overnight and I was fully expecting to be able to finish this novel tonight because I was able to finish The Wives. If you're coming back from my previous 3 thrillers video, you'll know that the last time I worked an overnight and brought a book with me, I completed a novel. However, I did not manage to do that tonight. I did make it nearly all the way through, though I have approximately, actually no, exactly 70 pages left of You Are Not Alone. And this is by Grier, Hendricks, and Sarah Pekin. Yep, okay. So I have read their 2 previous books, and I have thoughts. So their novels, both of them, seem to sort of, I'm going to put this down because I am in fact driving. Both of their novels that I have read, actually now all 3, well obviously I can't conclude completely because I do have the 70 pages left, but I feel as though I've read the majority of it. I've read over a third of it, over 2/3 of it. And the book is 340 pages and I have 70 pages left, so yeah, over 2/3. So I feel like I can talk about this and have like some type of like up top to be able to sort of say it. I feel like with most thrillers in general, we sort of have an element of like spousal things. You know, that's a really popular thing, is spousal things. If you're coming back from my last vlog, oh, I'm at a red light, let me get my water. If you're coming back from my vlog from last week, I gotta put this one on the floor. That's what I gotta do. I've acquired my water. So if you are coming back from that vlog, then, you know, they often use, unfortunately, makes me angry, mental illness and like, oh, she's crazy as the trope. So you have these 2 things that sort of happen a lot. A lot of crazy spouses or crazy woman, and a lot of like domestic thrillers will sort of have the husband and the wife type elements, but their books almost never revolve around, I mean, they had the one, but that was sort of, I mean, I'd have to refresh my memory to get sort of all the way. Actually, both of them did. I'm lying to you. But it was a small part rather than, like, for example, just off the top of my head, The Wives was largely husband and wife. What were the other 2 thrillers I read for that video? The Guest List had like the husband-wife type plot line in there. It wasn't the focal, it wasn't the end-all sort of plot, but it did have that sort of husband-wife. I gotta get from behind this damn bus. The husband-wife element. And then the other one that I read was not even. It was the Winter Counts. But anyways, so, but the one thing I notice is with their books, they almost never feature as the only main plot line the husband and the wife element. So, for example, the Anonymous Girl, let me get to my point real quick. It sort of revolves around morally gray and lying and sort of social issues rather than like The Woman in the Window, The Wives, novels like that. So with the Anonymous Girl, I'm gonna get away from this bus. Of course the bus needs to be in this lane too. You freaking jerk face. I hate you. Please get over again. I really don't want to ride behind you for the rest of the freaking trip. Anyways, the anonymous girl, it was a woman answers a thing and their relationship starts off as a lie, because she is a makeup artist and she's answering a call from one of her clients who says that she's not going to go, and they were going to get paid for it, so she's like, I'm hurting for money, so I'm gonna do it. And so that's kind of where it takes off. And like the psychologist that's was interviewing the one girl is sort of examining her moral grayness. And then the I think it was the wife between us was the other one. We're sort of that one is a complex novel that I don't want to accidentally spoil. But basically, what I'm trying to get at is that this book, is this where I need to turn? Of course it is. And guess who I'm behind again? The freaking bus. I'm gonna get away from him. I'm going in the other lane. Watch him try to get in front of me. Sorry. This is my house now. Anyways, yeah, so the one thing I do notice with their books, they tend to sort of lean away from I mean, obviously, like, the plot lines are different for all thrillers in general, but generally speaking, when you think of a domestic thriller, not like a crime thriller or like, you know, like the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, that's shelved as a mystery thriller and has absolutely nothing to do with domestic thrillers. So I'm not trying to say that all thrillers are domestic thrillers. I'm just saying, generally speaking, the books that I have picked up for this sort of experiment, with the exception of Winter Counts, have all sort of been like domestic thrillers. It hasn't been like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Do you know what I'm trying to say? If you don't, I'm sorry, because look, I had just got off an overnight and I don't really know what I'm trying to say. To be fair, to be honest and to be fair, I don't. So, yeah. Well, I don't even know where I was going with this. Anyways, I fully expected to finish this novel tonight. Unfortunately, I was unable to. I found myself very distracted throughout, and it could be a number of factors. It could be that I'm actually tired. Like, my last time that I woke up from an overnight, I was like weirdly awake. I don't know. It was weird. But yeah, I'm like, oh my god, I swear I wear the same thing in every single vlog, a black jacket and this marble. Well, I'm working the overnight, leave me alone, you know. I don't have fashion for overnights, I have comfy. But anyways, I'm gonna let you go. After I finish telling you that, I feel like it could be because I was tired. I feel like it could also be because I found myself sort of not engaged for a lot of what I read so far. I mean, it wasn't uninteresting, I just wasn't engaged. And like I said, that could have been because I was tired. It could be because it's sort of difficult to follow. I was trying to save this for like the end or like the wrap up, but I might as well just say it now, because when I finish the book, I don't know that I'm gonna have much to say about it, because right now with 70 pages left, it really feels like a middle of the road. Like, it's interesting, I'm just not engaged. And I feel like one of the reasons I'm not engaged is because it's got a uniquely large cast of characters. So a lot of times with thrillers, you have like a couple main characters and like a lot of side characters. Like, okay, so let's take the guest list for a second. I was trying not to make this clip long, but here we are, 9 minutes in, and I have no shortage of information to share with you today. When you look at, for example, the guest list, you had many characters, but I feel like each character was developed enough, especially with the multiple plot lines, that it wasn't sort of difficult to be in engaged, okay? You had the wedding planner, you had the bride, you had the plus one, you had the bridesmaid, you had the best man, like there were so many characters, and they all felt really sort of fleshed out. And not that these characters don't, like, some of them feel fleshed out, but that's my problem, is that not all of them are feeling fleshed out to me. Like, Shay is sort of fleshed out. Shay is sort of the main character of You Are Not Alone. So Shay feels very fleshed out, and Jane and Cassandra don't. Neither do Daphne, Beth, Valerie, you know, I can't even remember the other one's name. Hello, thank you for joining me again. My hair is busted. My brain is busted. My body is busted. These overnights have been killing me, y'all. I worked a day shift today. And it's like the thing that I asked not to be put on. If I was going to be working mostly overnights this week, I said, don't put me on a day shift. Don't do overnight, day shift, overnight. Put me on all overnights or all days, or not, like, mix in between. Anyways, that's not what we're here for. I did not finish it yesterday like I wanted to, but I did finish it today at work. 70 pages of it I completed at work, and that's sort of where it fell apart for me. When I stopped it, I had just sort of started the third part, and that's, like, the third part is really where it fell apart. The first half of it was good. The second half of it was okay. And the last, the first part was good. The second part was okay. And the third part, it just fell apart for me. Like, I don't know how I'm feeling. This is a good exercise for me, because typically I like to sit on my thoughts for a little while before I rate a book. But I can't really sit on my thoughts in a vlog, you know? So I'm sort of learning to think critically, think on my feet. I'm gonna have to roll my window down because it's hot. Oh, they have their window down too. I'm gonna roll my window back up. Anyways. Anyway, so yeah, the last part fell apart for me. The first part of the book, the first half of it was broken down, like, basically part 1 was about half the book, part 2 was a little over a quarter, and part 3 was a little under a quarter. The first part, they set it up to be so complex. The second part, we were sort of like going through the motions, and then I just lost interest in the third part. And I think I mentioned that I was having trouble staying engaged, and that continued throughout into the end. I finished it because, well, I had 70 pages left, and, like, I don't know about you, but, like, when I got, like, a little bit of the book left, I just get antsy, you know, and I just gotta finish it right now. So that's what happened. So these are something cute to just sort of break up the fact that I'm always in my car. I got these little space earrings. I thought they were super cute little astronauts. One is reaching for the stars and the other has grabbed it. I love these, and I don't know what has possessed me to all of a sudden love space, but here I am loving space things. I don't know. Hello, I am leaving work. It is 6:33 a.m. I just completed another overnight, my last one until next Sunday. No, this Sunday. Anyway, I got to page 154 of this book. I ended up spending like 3 hours catching up, well, 2 hours catching up with my friend, and then another like hour and a half editing, so not very much reading got done. Plus, I wasn't really trying to read this one all that much, I'll be honest, just because, and this isn't a spoiler, because it happens literally on the first page we find this out, so it's told in dual timelines. It's told when a woman in 1982 1987. A woman in the 80s is working the night shift. Okay, keep up here. Night shift at a hotel that is presumably haunted, and I work at a hospital, and I just got done with a night shift, an overnight at a hospital that, like, if you believe in ghosts and stuff, hospitals are always haunted, you know? And like my sort of whether or not I believe in ghosts sort of waxes and wanes depending on if I'm alone in the dark, you know? Am I alone and or in the dark? But anyways, let me sort of start to summarize this. So the main character from 1982, Viv Delaney, wants to move to New York City, and to help pay for it, she takes a job as the night clerk at the Sundown Motel in Fell, New York. But something isn't right at the motel, something haunting and scary. Upstate New York. Oh, hold on. Gotta drive my car. But I think I can take over from here. 2017. Her niece is taking a little bit of time off of college to sort of figure out like what actually happened to her aunt all those years ago, because things, you know. Carly Kirk has never been able to let go of the story of her Aunt Viv, who mysteriously disappeared from the Sundown Motel before she was born. Carly decides to move to Fell and visit the motel, where she quickly learns that nothing has changed since 1982, and she soon finds herself ensnared in the same mysteries that claimed her aunt. See? Crazy. So, two characters are dealing with overnight shifts at a haunted motel. I just happen to be working the overnight at a hospital, and I know that I had updated and said I did not want to pick this one up on an overnight, but I do have another update for you. I didn't end up finding a copy of Night Swim on audio. I ended up grabbing it from Scribd, so I am listening to it on Scribd because it has the true crime podcast element, I believe, and I do love to hear those through. I think it has, I don't know if it's like, has bits and pieces. I should have checked. Another freaking yellow light? My God. Anyways, I don't really have all that much to say because, like I said, I'm only 154 pages in, and it doesn't really feel like I've gotten all that far into the Night Swim. I think maybe like a chapter. I think I just picked it up to start it today. So I'm going to stop this update, flip you around, and time-lapse it so I have a little bit of B-roll.
Baby, I will give you the galaxies. Fall for your love when there's no gravity. Hop on this rocket ship. I got a blast. Girl, you're so confident. We don't need fast, need forever. Who you? Forever, you and me. The way you feel is so interstellar. When I'm with you, I swear I'm in heaven, baby.
Hello, I am leaving work, and I am on page 225 of, I believe, like 350. So I'm real close to being done. I can definitely finish that tomorrow. I know I can't finish it tonight because I'm going to take my son to the bookstore, and I have to mod another live. A couple more of my friends have decided to start going live on their channels in the diamond painting community, so I am modding for them. Let's see. Let's talk about this book. So both the main characters were working overnights, which is why I sort of put this down, because it really freaked me out because, mind you, I picked this up during an overnight, and I had said repeatedly that I was not going to do that. I didn't at the time. I wonder if you can even hear me with my windows down. At the time, I did not even know that the books took place during the main characters in the book's perspective, both of them took place during overnights. So like sometimes during the day, but like a lot of the time it was overnight. So I think that's why I ultimately ended up putting it down and not completing it that night. overnight that I started it, and I think that's why I've been sort of hesitant to pick it up, because mind you, today is Tuesday, and the last time I touched this book was Sunday morning during my overnight. So, I mean, that's not too bad. I only missed one day of reading, but like, I never read anything on Mondays anyway, because I have so much other stuff going on. But I mean, I'm not hating it. It's like, I don't necessarily, like, I'm not necessarily super invested in it, but I find that when I'm in it, I'm really in it, if that makes sense. So like, once I'm reading it, I'm invested. But that is all I have to update you on. I still am reading on audio The Night Swim. Well, I'm listening to it, I guess. I don't know. I just like, I read a couple books narrated by this person before, and it's like, I don't like it. I don't like the narrator's voice. And like, I listen on 2x speed, and it sounds better on 2x speed, so at least like I have that going for me. But I haven't read much of it, so I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna stop talking to you, and I'm gonna start listening. All right, I will update you when I have anything else to update you on. I'm gonna try and update you from the house. I feel like this video, like the last one took me like a week and a half to finish, and this one was like, we started off so strong. Like, I read a book in a day. Actually, the other one ended strong too. I ended up reading 2 books. I'm gonna go.
Now to be a very humid Saturday morning in Minneapolis. Everyone in town is talking about the Blair trial that starts next week. We'll take more callers after this little tune.
Hello. Couple things. First of all, my windows are down, and they damn sure are not gonna get rolled up. When I left this morning, it was actually kind of chilly, and now it is like a bajillion degrees, and I'm in South Florida, so that means it's like a humid hot. But let's discuss the Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. So I finished this today, and I had some thoughts. First of all, heavy on the trigger warning for rape, sexual assault, in general assault, cancer, loss of a loved one, loss of a parent, loss of a sibling, getting that out of the way. So I finished it, and it was one of those books that like, when I was reading it, I was into it, but like when I stopped reading it and like took a break for whatever reason, I just wasn't as interested. So, okay, so as you know from the last clip, I'm gonna roll this up a little bit so you can hear me like a little better. So as you know from the last clip, I ended up reading 154 pages on Saturday overnight, so basically Sunday morning, early Sunday morning. Didn't read anything when I got home, didn't read on Monday, read another 100-ish pages on Tuesday, and then 75-ish pages on Tuesday, and then the final 100 pages today. So it took me a total of 4 days to read it all, but that wasn't bad, all things considered, because I did, like I said, take the whole day off on Monday. I mean, it was not typical, that I will say. It was definitely atypical from the thriller that I have been reading and being okay with, like, if that makes sense. Like, it was good, it wasn't great. I can see why it's on the list. Actually, you know what? Compared to some of the other thrillers I've read lately, it was great. I take that back. Is it the best I ever read? No. Is it the worst I ever read? Absolutely not. I'd say it's top 10 maybe. That's not 10. That's top 10. It's definitely in the top 10 for sure. I still rank Riley Sager's most recent 2 novels as higher up, but I might be biased there. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the spoilery section real quick. So flashing across the screen, spoilers. So if you have not read this book, now is your last opportunity to click away. Okay, now that they're gone and it's just the people that have read it or people that don't care to read it, let's talk spoilers. So I was pissed. The whole setup and the whole purpose of the novel is that her aunt is dead. So I don't know about you, but for me personally, when a character is set up as dead, it sort of negates the purpose of the entire novel to find out that the aunt isn't alive. Of course, we find out that the aunt isn't alive because she was actually not murdered. She wasn't one of the disappearing girls. She was one of the ones that took care of the ones that was disappearing her. And I really liked that spooky paranormal aspect. I did enjoy that very, very much. I really will say that. I don't really have anything else to say about this book. It was good. Yeah, that's it. So let's talk about the night swim. So first of all, I am loving the podcast element. So I am on chapter 23 of 55. Oh, you can't see that. You'll have to trust me. On chapter 23 of 55 or starting. So I guess that means I'm finishing chapter 22. But so far it's good. I have to say that originally when I first started this novel on audio, I was not enjoying the narrator. Turns out that is just one of 2 or 3, I think 3, unless I'm crazy and it's only 2. But regardless, I am enjoying the other 2 narrators, so it really makes up for the fact that the third of it is and the narrator that I don't particularly like the sound of. I don't know what it is, but like I've read a couple or listened to a couple of the books that she's narrated, and I just can't with her. And I don't even know her name, but I just like, and there's nothing wrong with her voice. Like if I take a step back and I look at it from somebody who already isn't annoyed by her voice is fine, actually quite soothing. But I think it's because I don't know, I must not have liked one of the books that she narrated, and so now I just don't like her, which is horrible. That's not nice. But it's the truth. And I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. So anyways, moving on. I'm enjoying it. I love the podcast element. I'm gonna actually stop this here. Oh, and that's what I was listening to in the previous clip, actually. I'm gonna stop this, and I am gonna go ahead and pick that back up on audio, see if I can finish a chapter before I have to go get my kid.
23. Rachel. The effect of Alkinson's address was hypnotic. His final words hung in the air as he walked back to his seat, slowly and deliberately. For a long moment, the only sound in the courtroom was the tap of his shoes against the stone.
Good morning. I am leaving the house for work. It is 6:11 in the morning. I'm actually running a little bit late today. Pardon my scratchy morning voice. This is the first time I spoke since I don't know what time I went to bed last night. But let's talk about, what's it called? The night swim. Let's talk about the night swim. So last night I listened to all of it, well, the rest of it, the last, I've been like sort of listening to it all week, but I listened to the last like hour, 2 hours last night while I was cooking dinner and cleaning up and stuff. So here are my thoughts. First of all, heavy on the trigger warning for rape, sexual assault, people getting away with rape, loss of a sibling, loss of a loved one. Yeah, I feel like in my head there was a lot more triggers, but I feel like it's just because it's the big ones, you know what I mean? Anyways, trigger warnings aside, the book was good. It was, the podcast element was like perfect. I almost wish there was more of it. The bouncing perspectives between Rachel and Hannah and the podcast, like, it kept it interesting. I was never bored. I did listen to it on audio, and I think this one and Sadie are probably best read on audio. There's just something about a book with a podcast that just perfection if it's read to you rather than you reading it.
oh my god, like the podcast elements on both of them were so well done. Like I actually want to re-listen to Sadie. That's how good this podcast was. It reminded me so much of like that feeling, like, am I listening to a book or is this a podcast? Because the podcast elements were done so well that it was just like, oh my goodness. Excuse me, sorry. Like I said, 6 in the morning. I'm tired. But yeah, the podcast elements were just done so well that you do forget. You do forget, like, sort of what you're doing. My hair is... I just found a new way to do my hair. My coworker taught me a new way to do my hair with new products and stuff. And I did it last night. Actually, no, I did it when I came home from work yesterday. So, everything's fine. It's just, it's my own fault because it's like I braided my hair like a straight part down the middle. So when I did that, I sort of trained my hair for like 3 days to do this instead of what I wanted to do, which is have no part. I would prefer my hair had no part, which means I needed to have done it upside down, but I didn't do it upside down. I did it right side up. Anyways, yeah, this book, it was like, I can't even put into words. Like, it feels like, I mean, I'll get into spoiler alerts in a second, but it feels like you're following 2 cases, you know what I mean? Because you've got the case that the podcast is following, and you got Rachel doing like research into Hannah because Hannah keeps leaving the messages and stuff. I mean, honestly, it was great. I just pulled up next to a police officer. Let me not talk with my hands. Anyways, oh, somebody's blocking us. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alerts. We end up finding out that the cases are sort of like intermingled, which was an interesting element, I have to admit. That was a very interesting element to bring forth, though I do sort of almost wish that it wasn't the dad that did the first one. I kind of wished it was the dad of the accused. I feel like that would have been, I don't know, better in some way. I'm not sure. The cop just passed me. I don't know. I liked it. I really did. Did I even say what this book is about? This book is about a girl named Rachel, or a woman named Rachel, who is doing a podcast, and the podcast is called Guilty or Not Guilty, and like their whole like thing is that like, this is a podcast, Guilty or Not Guilty, the podcast that puts you in the jury box. So the whole concept of the podcast is like they're reviewing the case and stuff, and like going through it and reviewing evidence and stuff. And I guess her podcast is like super like good, obviously, because it turned over a like it proved somebody to have been not guilty or something like that. I don't know, but this is the first time that they're following a ongoing case, and that case would be that there was this girl in Minneapolis who was, trigger warning for rape, and she was sexually assaulted, and so Rachel is following that case, but that case is sort of dredging up memories, in addition to the fact that it is the 25th anniversary of the day that another girl in that town died. And it's you know, we're sort of looking at similarities between the 2 cases as Rachel goes along. So, I mean, it was really good, I have to say. At no point was I bored, which is always, you know, like preferred. And then it was a really good time, y'all. It was a really, really good time. So when I get home, I will sort of go over and fix. When I get home, I will go over all the books, what I thought about them, and sort of wrap this video up, because I can't now because I'm on my way to work. Oh my god. So many, like, I'm barely missing all these lights. Like, it's like they're... Anyways, I'm gonna go so I can like put my game face on for work. Let's do this. Yes. Okay. I'll see you in the next clip.
The first book that you saw me pick up was You Are Not Alone by Grier, Hendricks, and Pekin. This book was weird. I wouldn't say it was bad. I think I'm going with a 3-star for this one. I feel like I finished editing most of it today, so I feel like pretty sound in what I said still. I'm gonna go with a 3.5 star. This is not their best work. My favorite from them was An Anonymous Girl by far. I mean, I'm not mad at it. It was fine. Better than some of the ones that I read last week, so that's this. So just in case you were wondering, this is about a girl whose name is Shay, and she witnesses something horrific happen in a subway station, and it sort of scars her for a little while, and coincidentally she sort of starts to run into the girl who this thing happened to. She starts to run into their friends. Now this book, I'm gonna go ahead and say heavy trigger warnings for suicide and like, I don't know, I can't remember what the other stuff was. It's actually been over a week now. I'm not the greatest, but you know what, I imagine that I included trigger warnings earlier, so I'm not gonna worry too much about this one. Like I said, 3.5 stars. It was good. It wasn't great. It was okay. You know, it was like a good middle of the road thriller, and that's kind of like, I like to stick with middle of the road or high, you know, excellent thrillers, because I can't be getting into the wives again. I just can't. I can't do it to myself. I just can't. So the next book that I completed was the Sundown Motel. This book, however, after having let it sit in my head for a little while, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4-star. At first, I was mad at the plot line, or the plot point, one of the plot twists. I was mad at it, but I see it now. I'm not pleased. I'm still not happy with that plot twist, but I understand it now a little bit more, and after taking a step back and looking at it through a critical lens and comparing this book to the other 4 on the list, I have to say that this is probably one of the higher of them. This and the guest list are this and the guest list, and the one I'm going to talk to you about in a couple minutes, are the top. So the top 3 of the 6 that I read, I guess. I just didn't care for the wives at all. Like, I wish, well, I don't wish I hadn't read it, because I always want to read the things I'm buying. Anyways, so trigger warning, heavy on the trigger warning for cancer, loss of a loved one, sexual assault, rape. I think that's it. Anyways, this book was told in 2 timelines. This is about Viv in 1982 and Carly in 2017. And in 1982, Viv goes missing. Carly in 2017, her niece, is sort of trying to figure out what happened to her aunt, you know, several years later. It was good. Definitely one of the higher ones that I picked up this past month. I often will read a book and sort of gauge how my coworker will feel about it. I often loan my coworker these books, and this is one that I am definitely going to mention, recommend, etc. So the final book I'm going to talk about is The Night Swim. Here's the thing. I read these 2, like, I listened to this one while I was physically reading this one, and the trigger warnings are the same. We've got loss of a sibling, loss of a loved one, sexual assault, rape, potentially getting away with rape. Obviously in both situations we have murders. So it was sort of in my head, because I was reading this one physically and listening to this one on audio, I was sort of jumbling them, but I sort of had to get to a point where I was like, ookie spooky ghosts, water, podcast. Ookie spooky ghosts, water, podcast. So I sort of was able to separate them in my head with that in mind. So this one is about a woman whose name is Hannah, who sort of reaches out to a woman who does a podcast, and her name is Rachel. And Rachel's podcast is called Guilty or Not Guilty, and their tagline is the podcast that puts you in the jury box. And the podcast element in it was so well done. I don't know if I can find a podcast episode in here. Okay, so the podcast is actually like, this is the script for the podcast. It's actually read out loud, sort of similar to how Sadie, the true crime podcast in Sadie, or the podcast in general in Sadie, I don't remember very much about it, but I'm going to reread it because of this. I find that I love podcast book elements, books with podcast elements, I don't know, but this one, we're following Rachel, who is going along the case of Kay or Kelly and, oh god, I can't remember the boy's name. The last name is Blair, who allegedly raped this girl named Kelly, and we're sort of following Rachel follow this case in, like, as it's going to trial rather than, like, in the past. Like, she's going over the evidence from the past. She's actually physically in the courtroom, which I do tend to like legal thriller elements if they're done well. Okay, so Miracle Creek, for example, did not love it, did not even like it, but this one I feel did it really well. It was a excellent balance of the life that she was looking into, Hannah's life that she was looking into, because Hannah had lost her sibling many years ago, and I don't want to get into spoilers because I feel like if you watch this far you've already seen my spoilers, but basically if you liked Sadie, this is an adult version of Sadie. So Sadie, if you remember, is about a girl who goes looking for her sister, and that's sort of similar to what the second perspective is told in two perspective, well, three technically with podcast element, Rachel and Hannah. Hannah is looking into the mysterious death of her sister Jenny, and subsequently Rachel is also joining her on this quest. So out of these three, if you have not already picked them up, I recommend these two, keeping in mind the trigger warnings, keeping in mind they're very, like, their elements are the same. They're completely different, but their elements are the same. Like I said, the trigger warnings are very, very similar. So I would recommend these two for sure. If you're only gonna pick one up, this focuses heavy on the rape. So I would say definitely if you're sensitive to that, do not pick this up. This one is a lot more, it happens. Whereas this one is like, it happens. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I'm not sure. But out of these three, like I said, I would pick these two up. And out of these 7, obviously I haven't read this one, so I can't recommend that one. So if you remember from the very first vlog that I did in this series, well, I mean, there's only 2 parts so far, so duology maybe, I don't know. But if you remember, this was heavily based on the Goodreads Choice Awards. I pulled the books that I had off my shelf that were on the Goodreads Choice 2020 Best Thrillers Mysteries of the Year. So I pulled those off the list, off my shelves, and I ended up reading those. And this is how they were in order. So we had the guest list coming in at number 1. I would agree, maybe. I'm thinking probably, yes, I think that that one is definitely number 1 that I read for the series. The second one being Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I read that one last year. That was the only book I read last year. And I would say that I actually preferred Home Before Dark to this one, but I would agree that this is above the rest of them. And then third on the list is the Sundown Motel. I would agree. That is definitely one of my favorites that I read. Not sure how, but The Wives is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the list. I did not read number 4 when no one is watching. That may be something I pick up in the future, like I said in the previous vlog, but this one was number 5. I disagree. So 10th on the list was Long Bright River. As you know, I did not pick this up. I'm still debating. I don't know for sure. We'll see. You Are Not Alone. This was number 12 on the list. It's middle of the road for me, so I'm gonna say yes, it does belong here. And then the next one that I own is 13, 14, 15, number 15 on the list, which is Winter Counts. I think my feelings were pretty clear. I enjoyed this book, but I would not have called it a mystery or a thriller. It was a good book though. I definitely agree that it belongs on a list, maybe just not the thriller list, maybe like contemporary or fiction or something, I don't know. It was a good book, but because it was a mystery thriller, I was not too happy there. And then the last book I have on my list, which is number 17 on the list, this is Night Swim, and I would say this is in the top 3 that I read for this series. So do my preferences align with the Goodreads Choice Awards? Yes and no. I would be interested to continue to slowly pick these up throughout the year, maybe, specifically One by One by Ruth Ware and No One Is Watching. And if I ever do get around to Long Bright River, I'll include that one in there. And then that will be it for these, because I haven't heard of it and I have no interest in picking it up. I'm not going to pick it up. But that was it for this series vlog duology thing. I had fun. What did I learn? I learned that I really hated the wives. Okay, that is it for today's video. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you like me and would like to see more from me, please hit subscribe. I would be so happy to have you. Alright, I hope that you are being safe, wash your hands, and taking care of yourselves. Bye, guys.